Welcome back to the channel. Today I would like to continue sharing Chapter 175. Hostel, please listen. Why do you have to suffer like this? Yi sighed and said to him, Do you want me to tell Ziyi that, unless you regain the ability to protect her, so she can leave the hostel, otherwise you will never promise her again, no matter what? Yes, you are right. The greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. I know you hope she will not have a day like Xinwu, standing waiting for you at the door of the hostel like this.
Ka Yi.
Li Yin completely ignored him, coldly opening his mouth. I don't want to talk nonsense with you right now. Yi was not angry either. He was also looking at Xinwu's back. During this period of time, 3 more families left. Actually, something happened. Yi finally opened his mouth again. Lu Guangrong is nowhere to be seen. He is a person of my Yi Wu Ming, responsible for the statistics of all kinds of information and principles of the bloodline, you know? I have contacted him many times, but the last time I contacted him, I found that I could not contact him, and he was not in the room. Therefore, Li Yin was still as calm as a well, as if there was nothing in this world that could shake his spirit. At this moment, the several families beside Li Yin all felt their hearts beat a little faster. Li Yin emitted a very gloomy aura, and that gloomy aura seemed as if Li Yin himself was a shadow. His face no longer had any radiance, and in his eyes was hidden a sinister aura. That sinister aura made anyone who looked into his eyes unable to help but be frightened. At this moment, Li Yin's expression had almost disappeared. At this moment, he looked so strange that no one recognized him. Right now, if someone told them that Li Yin could kill all the households in front of him without feeling guilty, they would absolutely believe it without hesitation. Li Yin's temperament had clearly changed to the point of shaking the heavens and the earth. The previous Li Yin had already left and would never return. These past few days, he seemed to have thought too much, and he had also found a place to bury his mother's ashes. The Holy Sun sect, their problem was very concerning. Yi added another sentence. The Divine Valley Ming had also made a move, but they seemed to be helping each other and not showing it, just trying to pretend. Li Yin looked at Yi, who was standing beside him. His eyes suddenly seemed to shoot out a trace of killing intent. You know about Chu Dijin's matter? Yin Wu told me. You already know about this. At this time, the 2 people's voices also began to lower so the surrounding households could not hear their words. Of course, no one was foolish enough to run over and eavesdrop. Knowing this clearly and still lying to me, it seems that you guys are really good at calculating. Li Yin shot out a ray of coldness like 1,000 years of ice and snow. His eyes were cruel. I will think of a way to find her. I warn you, Ka Yi. Don't think you can use her or Z to trap me to do anything. Otherwise, I will let you know how terrifying I can be. Right now, there is nothing I cannot do. In this point, I am the same as you. Yi faced Li Yin, but did not show a look of fear. Instead, he responded very calmly. I entered the inn precisely because I wanted Yin Wu to leave here alive. To achieve this goal, I can do anything. Li Yin looked at Xinwu in front of him again and said, I will give you a piece of advice. Warn everyone in Yi Wu Ming to monitor this woman every minute and every second. She was already a very extreme person. Now that Bian Xingchen is dead, I'm afraid that the last bit of reason left will also be lost. I know. Yi gently nodded. I have never trusted Pu Xinwu before. No, it should be said that I have never trusted anyone. Not knowing when Shangguan Mian had also left. At this moment, in the main hall, there were only Li Yin, Yi, Luo Shisan, and Shueli and Xinwu. And Shueli was gradually walking toward Xinwu. At this moment, this young girl who is only 20 years old absolutely felt that life was worse than death. It was because she knew this that she wanted to comfort her. After all, there weren't many people in the inn who had a good impression of Xinwu. Like Lang Jishan, he hated Xinwu to the bone. Only Tin, then, was the one who truly treated Tam Vu. Miss Bo and Tuet Lu finally walked to Tam Vu's side. wanting to say a few words, but seeing that there was not a single tear on Tam Vu's face. Her body was just like a carved statue standing there. Everything was just like that. And Tuet Lu immediately felt her heart tighten. This little girl couldn't even shed tears? She was still just a child after all. Having lost Tin then, her only support in this world, to her, did living have any meaning? Next, would she commit suicide? Miss Bo. And Shueli took a step closer and said, "No matter what, you must not be too miserable. I am a person who speaks clumsily. I also do not know how to comfort, but things have come to this point. We must think of a way to survive. We must survive." Shun Wu did not reply. She had been standing for more than 5 hours, but her body was still as straight as before. Li Yin coldly looked toward Shun Wu, finally strode forward, walked behind Shun Wu. He only said one short sentence. "I do not want to say much, but you remember one thing. Your life is what he cares about the most." After speaking, Li Yin turned around and headed straight for the elevator. Now only Shueli, Yi, Luo Shisan, and Shun Wu remained. And Shueli was very surprised. Luo Shisan, why was he still here? This person was someone that Kananda valued very much. What was he waiting here for? Was it because Bo Tam Vu was also a member of De Vumin? If so, this man must be very loyal. And Tuet Lo once had a younger sister of similar age to Tam Vu. If the younger sister was still alive, her age would probably be about the same as Tam Vu. She would also never forget that her younger sister committed suicide because her lover abandoned her. She would never forget that, not wanting to accept her dead younger sister, she learned to disguised herself as her younger sister. Therefore, in front of the people around her, they all thought that her younger sister was still alive. And Tuet Lo replaced her younger sister and continued to live her life. It wasn't until they entered the inn that she finally couldn't disguise herself as her younger sister anymore. She had always been deceiving herself. Just then, Tam Vu's legs suddenly went limp, her entire body fell to the ground, and she immediately fell into a coma. And Shueli hurriedly went over to help her up and shouted to Yi and Luo Shisan, who were standing at the side, "Hey, come here quickly. She's unconscious." Luo Shisan and Shueli brought Shinwu back to the room, and Shueli helped her cover her up, then turned to Luo Shisan and said, "Thank you for helping me bring her back to the room. If you intend to take care of her, then I'll leave first." The majority of the households in extremely hated Shinwu. Her father was a devil, and she herself had killed many households before. Therefore, her life in the future would definitely be isolated. After all, the people living in this place would not feel sympathy for a murderer and, moreover, one who had killed many households. And Shueli looked at Luo Shisan. He was willing to help bring Shinwu up to the 25th floor, which was already very good. She couldn't expect anything more. "You don't need to sympathize with her too much." Luo Shisan looked at Shinwu. His face was as pale as paper and said, "In this inn, just pay attention to yourself is enough." After speaking, Luo Shisan left. When he reached the door, he discovered that Yi was standing nearby waiting for him. Luo Shisan quickly walked over. The two of them walked side by side towards the elevator. Next, he tried his best to arrange it. The person supervising her, Yi, pressed the elevator button. His eyes coldly said, "You take charge of this matter, Shisan." "Yes." "Also, quickly find Lu Guangrong and immediately think of a way to check the number of people in the group. See if there are any more missing people. This matter is very important. It needs to be done quickly. I think that Xiao Yizi of the Divine Valley is also currently worried about this matter." "Don't worry." Luo Shisan took out a pack of Chinese cigarettes, put the cigarette in his mouth. Yi immediately took out a lighter and helped him light the cigarette. "Thank you. What do you think is going on?" Luo Shisan took a deep breath of cigarette and at the same time raised his head, looking at the elevator display screen and said, "Do you think that has something to do with the Holy Sun cult? Are we being too tolerant towards them?" The scale of the Holy Sun cult has already exceeded our imagination. At first, I considered that this sect could please some families, so I tacitly agreed to let them exist, but now it seems that I did not consider it carefully. Yi also took out a cigarette and put it in his mouth. The three great alliances in front of him were still in a state of balance, but as long as the last two fragments of the contract were declared, this balance would be completely broken. It is not excluded that some members who are not rational enough could take action. At this moment, the elevator door opened. The two of them entered the elevator together. Then Yi continued to speak. Increase the number of people to monitor the Divine Valley Alliance and the Holy Sun sect, and before entering the room, make sure if there are any people sneaking in or placing listening devices. I will arrange it. Luo Shursen nodded gently. I will choose a few loyal people to be in charge of this. You can rest assured, no matter what, I am the most devoted person to you. Yi leaned against the wall lightly, holding a cigarette in his hand, and said, Luo Shursan, as long as you can devote yourself to the Alliance, I will never make you regret it in the future. Although Luo Shursan's expression was calm, inwardly he was thinking, to be honest, it's better than singing Koinyi. This kind of alliance of ours is even weaker than tofu. Everyone is only cooperating temporarily for survival. Alright, you appreciate me, so I'll help you temporarily. I hope you don't disappoint me. And Shueli was still watching over Shenwu. Seeing her, Shueli couldn't help but think of her younger sister. After waking up, how could she continue living? Shueli's expression was sad. She lowered her head, rubbed her eyes, and said, living in this place was already cruel. She even entered the inn for Bian Xingshen. Many households didn't understand the love between Bian Xingshen and Pu Shenwu. Why did the two of them immediately confirm their love after only meeting for a few hours, and even make Shenwu take the initiative to enter the inn, paying the price with this kind of terrifying sacrifice? She was not like Kananda after all. She was very knowledgeable about the terror of the inn. Under this kind of situation, she was still willing to enter the inn and become a householder. But Tuet could understand. For someone like Tam Vu, deep love was everything. In the blink of an eye, when she and Tin then met, she had found someone who could complement her shortcomings. It was for this reason that she was willing to pay everything to protect this love. Too cruel. Truly too cruel. Such a great sacrifice. Almost exchanging her life, but still unable to keep happiness. Even though she was wrong before, but now hasn't she suffered enough punishment? After all, now she had to admit that it was more painful than death. Thinking of this, Tuet couldn't help but hope that Bien Tin then wasn't dead. Perhaps he was still alive and could still return to the inn. The phone couldn't be reached because it fell at the foot of the mountain. He was probably on his way back to the inn. So Tin then might still be alive. You have to hold on, Bo Tam Vu. Tuet lowered her head and looked at Tam Vu, saying, maybe he's still alive. You shouldn't give up. Maybe there's still hope. Just like that, she waited by Tam Vu's side. Before, Tuet didn't have much feelings for Tam Vu, but at this moment, she felt that at least there had to be someone by this young woman's side to keep her company. Right now, no one in the inn cared about her life or death. At most, they were worried that she would lose her mind and do something bad to the family. The scene of her younger sister cutting her wrist in the bathroom appeared before Tuet Li's eyes once again. After that day, she buried her younger sister's body alone. Not letting anyone know that her younger sister had died, she disguised herself as her younger sister, living in this world. Almost forgot herself. Finished university, even used her younger sister's identity to find a job. Even she herself didn't know when she could stop. Until one day, the man she had secretly admired in the company suddenly told her that he discovered that he really liked her. At that moment, Shueli's heart didn't know what to do. She couldn't use her younger sister's identity to marry him. But asking her to tear off her disguise? Would he consider her a pervert if she said that? No matter what, he loved his younger sister, not her. Sadly, Shueli also loved that man. Wanted to love but couldn't accept it. In the end, she didn't know who she was anymore. During that period of depression, she stepped into this, and while walking, as if heaven was teasing her, from now on she no longer needed to disguise herself as her younger sister. She could completely disappear without facing him anymore. What a sad life. The sun rose in the east. A new day began. The three great powers held a conference because 8 missing families had appeared in the inn. Of the 8 missing people, 3 belonged to the Holy Sun sect, 3 belonged to the Divine Valley Alliance, and 2 belonged to the Night Rain Alliance. Such a big problem needed to be solved immediately. Every force had missing people. I will quickly investigate this problem clearly. During the conference, Kananda used a cold tone to say, "The 3 great alliances all had missing people. This matter must be quickly handled." Are they confirmed missing? At this time, a household opened its mouth to ask. Confirmed. The one who opened his mouth was Shingu Xiaoyizi. Those 8 people are all key figures in the alliance, all in charge of important work. If we still can't contact them, then we will have to go out and search. I have such a guess. A man with deep dark circles under his eyes, twirling the fountain pen in his hand, said, "Could it be those 8 people received a bloodletter directive, but didn't notify anyone, but went to carry out the directive themselves?" These words just came out, immediately stirring up an undercurrent. The blood seal promulgation in front of them was completely irregular. If this really happened at this time, no one would find it strange. And that man with dark eyes was indeed Li Yin. This was the first time he had attended the conference in many days. Li Yin ignored the surprised gazes of others and continued to speak. As for the reason for not saying it, it was also very simple. Because in the blood seal they were enforcing, they promulgated the 6th fragment. Is there anything else to say? You. The Divine Valley little night child immediately stood up from his chair, his expression changing unpredictably as he said, "You just said they wanted to secretly swallow the 6th fragment?" In an instant, the households were like they were in boiling oil, clamoring. The hellish contract is as important as a strong character to a household. It is a passport to leave the inn. And if the 6th fragment was really declared and was hidden by these 8 people, the real matter is no different from a lightning strike in the clear sky. You shut up right now. At this moment, Luo Mitzi, who was sitting next to Su Tao, fiercely slapped the table, stood up and said, "Lu Zhaotian and the others are all extremely devout believers of the Holy Master, Li Yin. What you said is insulting the Holy Sun religion." Luo Mitzi, the Holy Master beside you hasn't even opened his mouth yet, and you're speaking up, thinking of making excuses? An icy cold voice came. The person who spoke was Ying Zai. As soon as these words were said, Li Yin's expression also shook. Zia's cold gaze shot towards Luo Mizi and continued. Moreover, what Li Yin said was indeed based on a hypothesis. Could it be that someone was willing to sit quietly in the inn? Everyone didn't say anything at this time, and there were even people who raised their opinions. Did something strange happen to the inn? But this theory was not taken seriously at all, because everyone completely believed that the inn would not let ghosts enter. This point was like a mathematical formula that had been applied to the entire world. The conference also discussed the hypothesis that Li Yin had put forward and finally decided to assign people to take turns guarding the door of the inn, and once they saw any of these 8 people returning, they would definitely have to seriously search them, and at least members of at least 2 alliances would have to do this at the same time. This also caused a lot of controversy in the conference, but for the sake of the 3 great alliances, they had to compromise. However, there are also people who suspect that this is some kind of conspiracy. In order to escape suspicion, they pretended that their alliance members were missing. The 3 great alliances were not worried about the supernatural aspect at all. After all, as long as people stay in the inn, they will be absolutely safe unless they violate the curse shadow. Otherwise, how can they die? After the meeting ended, when Li Yin left the room, he suddenly heard a voice coming from behind. Li Yin. Turning around, Li Yin saw Ying Zai standing not far away. Her face looked very haggard. Even so, she still revealed a determined spirit, saying, "I know, I will wait for you. Until you have the ability to protect me, have a way to protect yourself, then you can promise me, hold hands, and leave the inn." Li Yin just stood there looking at her for more than half a day, finally saying a sentence. "Definitely eat on time, sleep early." Just such a short sentence. Finally, he turned around, heading straight for the elevator. After returning to the room, Li Yin locked the door, confirmed that no one had snuck into the room before sitting down on the sofa. At this moment, his eyes were filled with tears. Ziyi, letting the tears flow down, wetting the hem of his clothes. Li Yin could finally cry loudly once. The sky was still empty. On the other side of the sky, there was no sunlight, only a patch of dark, hazy clouds in a small town surrounded by countless stone heads. Pushing open the broken door of the study, Dijon walked in. Li Yin, there was no one, come in. After Dijon finished speaking, he lightly stepped into the study, a series of dusty bookshelves in front of him. Indeed, there was none. Dijon looked around and opened his mouth to speak. "What is it?" He also pushed the door open and walked in and asked beside Dijon, "Did you find anything?" "Cobwebs." Dijon pointed at the bookshelf. "There are no cobwebs. Although the places we passed by had a lot of dust, there were no cobwebs anywhere." In other words, there were no spiders in this small town. Not only that, in such a dirty environment, there were also no flies to be seen. This small town, there were no living creatures. He looked at the bookshelf and the four directions and nodded slightly, saying, "That's right." That being said, there was still a problem. This small town was not like this in the entire Dark Valley. There were only rocks. Not even flowers or grass could be seen. There was no life in this place. "Next, we must be careful," Dijon said softly. "Now that the ghosts have entered this town, there must be more than one. We must quickly find the other half of the stone wall and smash it. Otherwise, try to find the diary that Pu Miling left behind. We will be one step ahead." At this time, the sky outside was still gloomy. Suddenly, the sound of something being broken came from downstairs. Dijon immediately stopped. Her eyes moved. Immediately after, her eyes landed on a table. On the table was a photo in a glass frame. On the photo, it looked like a family of three, a middle-aged couple and a girl around 16, 17 years old. It was right here. Dijon did not hesitate to go to the wall in front of her, knocked a few times and discovered that this wall was hollow. Before she could make a move, she saw Li Yin run over and punch the wall, shattering it. Then a corpse suddenly appeared inside the wall. No, strictly speaking, it wasn't a corpse, but a stone statue. The strange thing was that the stone statue only had the lower half of its body, but it was crafted to look very lifelike. No, it wasn't crafted. Dijon said, "This stone statue was clearly a living person before, the other half of it was outside the town." "Smash it!" Dijon hurriedly looked around to find something heavy and convenient. He must smash the stone statue before that ghost comes. Squeak. The sound of the study door opening came from behind. Yen Lang, who was wearing an apron in the kitchen, heard the doorbell and immediately dropped the mop in his hand and ran to open the door. He didn't know who would suddenly come to visit in such a hot day. Looking out from the anti-theft door, he saw Li Yin. "You." Yen Lang's expression immediately became a little unsightly. He took a step back and said, "Li Yin, there are some things that I want you to confirm," Li Yin said with a serious face. "It's about Dijon. You know about her disappearance, right?" "I just met Xian who?" "Dijon." Yen Lang's expression changed. However, because of the previous blood sacrifice, he and she almost died in the morgue of Shengtian Hospital. But after all, Dijon had consumed a lot of mental energy for them. If it weren't for her, they wouldn't have known about the inn's existence. So he hesitated for a moment before opening the door. "I'll advise you first. Yen Lang is still somewhat wary of Li Yin. I already know about your mother's matter. Please suppress your grief. But I hope you don't take this matter out on us." Obviously, Yan Lang suspected Yang Jinghui's death, as well as Wang Xiaojie's murder by the ghost. Li Yin entered the room. At this time, she just came out from the bedroom. She saw Li Yin and was shocked. Shiyu, you are here too. Li Yin walked closer to the two of them and suddenly knelt down on the ground. You. Li Yin suddenly did this, making Yan Lang unable to react. He quickly squatted down in front of him and said, Li Yin, what do you want to do? I know that the blood son I abandoned you to in the hospital basement was wrong, so it is natural for you to resent me. I will not defend myself. This time I came, although I want to ask a few things, but first I still want to apologize to you too. Li Yin's personality has always not been someone who can simply bow down to others. This point Yan Lang was very clear. Li Yin knelt on the ground, his head bowed low. This attitude also made Yan Lang feel soft in his heart, and she was originally a kind person, so she also came forward and said, All right, that matter is also for the sake of your life. I will not care anymore. You are also the person that Dijon has secretly admired for many years. Dijon is currently unknown where she is. I am also thinking of a way to find her. Shiyu and Dijon were best friends in college. During the time when the two slept in the same room, she also saw how deep Dijon's feelings for Li Yin were. It was just because of a kind of pressure in the bottom of her heart. Until now, she still had not confessed to Li Yin. Shiyu had always hoped that Li Yin and Dijon could become a couple because she truly loved Dijon as a person. But time just passed by so quickly. Things had progressed to this point. It could only be said that it was fate. Dijon and Li Yin had both become family members in that hellish inn. I'm sorry, Yan Lang. I'm sorry, Shiyu. Li Yin bowed his head heavily on the ground, saying, No matter what, I'm sorry. In the end, this kind couple still forgave Li Yin. After all, they knew that Li Yin's current life was no different from being exiled to hell. Although he was still alive in the world, his heart had already fallen into hell. Just thinking about how Dijon had gotten through that dark time in the past, she lived in hell, but was still able to smile and face life, really made Shiyu's heart feel tight. So when she knew that Dijon had gone missing, she felt like her soul was missing a part. I will tell you everything about Dijon. Shiyu sighed and said, Not just Dijon, but Di Tian as well. He too. Ka Inwu told me. Yesterday, she and Ka Inyi went to find you guys? Yan Lang still remembered the time when Shangguan Mian forced her to confess. When Shangguan Mian released them, she said that if they wanted to leave K-City, once they were discovered, she would immediately kill the two of them. At the same time, she could not report this to the police or anyone else. Shangguan Mian's expression was extremely terrifying, causing Yan Lang to tremble like a leaf, that which was absolutely not to be provoked. Of course, she could eventually leave the inn or die in the inn so that they would finally be freed. But right now, they must obey her orders. Although the threat of that woman was very terrifying, but thinking about her, who was also a householder in the inn, he felt a little sympathetic. After all, she might have died. Li Yin felt that Yan Lang wanted to say something but stopped, so he asked, What happened?
Can you tell me? No, nothing.
Yan Lang thought of Shangguan Mian, and his heart couldn't help but feel scared. Next, Li Yin asked a lot of things. They all honestly told him all the information they knew. Only the matter of Shangguan Mian kidnapping them did not say anything. Dijon, is she really okay? Shiyu's face was full of worry as she asked. Li Yin, you must think of a way to find her. I will try my best. Li Yin wrote down the information in the notebook and said, But I can't promise that I can definitely find her. On the other side, Shungu Xiao Yizi and Fan Xianqi were standing silently on the side observing the patient in the room in front of them. Inside the glass room, a woman around 20 years old, with a delicate face, was lying on the hospital bed. She was too haggard. Her face was almost bloodless. You said there was a way to save her? Fan Xianqi, at this moment, looked at Shungu Xiao Yizi in surprise and asked, You really have a way to do it? She really found it hard to believe. After all, the The poison Jing Ting was hit with was no different from the one in Jin Yang's martial arts novels. I'm afraid that only Ouyang Feng reincarnated could analyze this poison and formulate it and solve it. He had tried for many years, using many people to conduct experiments, but he still couldn't analyze the ingredients of the poison. Fan Xianqi asked doubtfully, Can you really do it? Xiao Yizi nodded slightly, then took out an object and said, This object can save her life? She probably can only live for a month at most, right? With this object, can she be resurrected? Fan Yuqi only saw a key in Xiao Yizi's hand. She stared at the key with wide eyes, saying, This is the key to the inn, right? Yes. It is the key of a deceased household in Shungu Ming. You also know, as long as you swear to enter the inn voluntarily, all illnesses on the body can be completely cured successfully. I asked Shenwu before. She confirmed that this rule is the method of announcing in front of the inn and all households, even if the body is poisoned, it can be resurrected. Now thinking back, if there is someone who voluntarily enters the inn, it is only for this reason that they would do so. You choose for yourself, wait for her to die, or you use this key to turn her into a boarding house household, then you can come back to life. Choose one or two. You are already a person of the Divine Valley Alliance, so I will show you a way to live. How you do it is up to you. I will not interfere. Fan Xianqi trembled as she took the key. She only felt as if her head was about to explode. Make Jing Ting a boarding house household? What kind of joke is that? That is worse than death. Who knows if you will live or die as a boarding house household? Fan Xianqi was also feeling discouraged. Moreover, Zhang Tianlin was already dead. In this world, there was only one person she was worried about, and that was Jing Ting. Before, when Fan Xianqi was captured by the people of the Black Death Fragrance Organization, at that time they were engaged in illegal human trafficking, but because Fan Xianqi was beautiful, she was turned into a sex tool by them. After spending countless hours in captivity, being abused by those beastly men countless times, she also became pregnant several times, then had miscarriages, until she lost the ability to reproduce. If it weren't for Zhang Tianlin saving her, she might still be living in the captivity of those evil men. Therefore, she was very grateful to him, even though she knew that he was also the kind of person who would kill without hesitation. She still hoped to be able to help him. End of Chapter 175. Please come back tomorrow to continue watching Chapter 176. Thank you and goodbye.